Welcome to Archetypes of the East. Today we're looking at Hexagram 63, after completion. This hexagram is about successful accomplishment in the state of perfected order. Everything that has a place is in its place. The I Ching advises that although order is achieved, complacency, stagnation, or ineptitude may lead to disorder. The achievement of goals, conclusions, and the arrival of a season of perfected order and harmony. True equilibrium has been achieved, and every element of a scenario is working together with little to no friction. This is the principle of perfect equilibrium. Hexagram 63 is the only hexagram in the I Ching where every single line is in its correct position. The strong yang lines are in odd places while the weak yin lines are in even places. This represents water sitting over fire. It's the image of cooking. The image of a meal perfectly cooked or a machine perfectly tuned. This is the strategy of the peak performance. It teaches that when everything is in its place, the greatest threat is no longer obstacles, but ease. The Oracle says that victory is a state of emergency. Once you reach successful accomplishment, you lose the creative tension that got you there. The arrival of a season of perfect order is the most dangerous time because you are tempted to coast. In the I Ching, once a cycle is finished, a new one, often starting in chaos, is already beginning in the background. There is a warning here about the moment of decay. Friction is what tells you where the problems are. When you have no friction, this means that you might not notice when the water starts to boil away or the fire begins to die down. The Oracle suggests perseverance is your vigilance. Do not let harmony turn into sleep. In career, this is the moment after a massive launch where everything is perfect. The strategy is now systemic maintenance rather than innovation. In relationships, it's the golden age where you must be extra careful not to take the other person for granted. Success is not a destination. It is a balance that must be defended at every second. The key or energy of this hexagram is still, symmetrical, and fragile. The atmosphere of Hexagram 63 is eerie and crystal clear. It feels like the moment after a long climb where you stand on the summit. The view is perfect, but the air is very thin and you have to go back down eventually. The image of Hexagram 63 states water over fire. Water over fire, the image of the condition after completion. The superior person takes thought of all misfortune and arms themselves against it in advance. The image here is talking about being preemptive. Because everything is good now, you must use your excess energy to imagine what could go wrong. You fix the roof while the sun is shining. You back up the data while the system is still running perfectly. Do things while things are still in the opportune moment. The judgment of Hexagram 63 states, after completion, there is success in small matters. Continued perseverance furthers. At the beginning, there is good fortune. At the end, if one is not steadfast, there is disorder. Hexagram 63 is the image of a crossing successfully made. In the I Ching, the great water is behind you now. But the Oracle warns that completion is not the end, it's a high-stakes status quo. This is the strategy of hypervigilance. It teaches that once the big problem is solved, the small details become the new great water. If you stop rowing just because you see the shore, the current will take you back out to sea. This is a warning against the decay of indifference. The Oracle says gravity never sleeps. To maintain peak performance, you must act as if the goal hasn't been reached yet. Disorder doesn't start with a crash. It starts with indifference or laziness. If you overlook the seeds of stagnation, small oversights, you're inviting decay. Success is not a trophy that you own. It is a garden that you must tend to daily. We have to be careful about falling into the autopilot trap. This is a warning against strategic sloth. In career, don't fix what isn't broken, but just keep it well-oiled. The habits that got you to the top are the only things that will keep you there. Coasting is just a slow way of falling. In relationships, the golden era requires mundane commitment. Do not let boredom erode your foundation. Treat a perfect relationship with the same aggressive care you used to build it. Success is the rigor of maintenance. This is about viewing your entire endeavor as a retention strategy. It's the realization that finishing is just starting again, but at a higher level. The I Ching says, you have crossed the great water. Congrats, but decay follows peak fortune like a shadow. To stay at the top, you must focus on small matters and never-ending upkeep. Indifference is the enemy. Do not go on autopilot. Maintain the habits that made you successful. In relationships, do not let boredom lead to small misunderstandings. The seeds of disorder are neglected details. Act as if you are still climbing to ensure that you never fall. A changing line 1. They put the brakes on the wagon wheels, or they will be like the careless fox that slips and wets their tail in the water. There is no blame. This line is talking about setting a deliberate pace. Line 1 is at the bottom of the inner trigram of fire. In the I Ching, the braking wheel represents the conscious decision to resist the momentum of success. The fox crossing the ice is a classic metaphor for the final, most dangerous stage of a journey. This is the strategy of preventative caution. It teaches that speed at the finish line is often a liability. Move cautiously and slow down. This is the correct pace. Take preventative measures, even if they seem excessive. The oracle says the closer you are to the goal, the more you must resist the urge to sprint. By braking your wheels, you're ensuring that your arrival is stable rather than violent, even if you experience a minor setback, like the fox wetting its tail. It is no blame because it prevents a total collapse. It is best not to rush into new endeavors right after a major success. This is a warning against strategic overreach. The high of a win makes you feel invincible, which is exactly when you are the most vulnerable. The wet tail here is a reminder that you are still in the water of the situation. Stay deliberate until you are completely on dry land. In career, this is the last-minute review of a contract. Even if it delays the signing by a day, it prevents a fatal oversight. In relationships, it is checking in after a big milestone to ensure that both parties are truly comfortable rather than just swept up in the moment. Success is secured by slowing down just as others would speed up. This is the break strategy. It's the realization that finishing well is harder than starting. The I Ching says, put the brakes on the wheels as you approach the goal. Do not be like the careless fox that slips at the last second and wets its tail. Even if you experience a minor setback, there is no blame because you are moving cautiously. This is the correct pace. Now is not the time to rush into new endeavors. Be deliberate with every step. Crossing the finish line requires more attention, not less. Slow down to stay finished. A changing line 2. One may experience something briefly out of order, like a bride losing the privacy veil from her carriage, a veil used to shield her from public view. If something small gets lost, it is not worth chasing after. After some time, it will return on its own. Line 2 is the center of the inner trigram of fire. In the I Ching, the carriage curtain represents the shield of status, privacy, or the perfect image that one presents to the world. Losing it after a major success feels like a vulnerability or an impropriety. This is the strategy of elegant non-action. It teaches that chasing a small loss makes you look small, while waiting proves your greatness. The oracle is basically saying, don't sweat the optics. After a major milestone, you might experience a minor setback that feels flawed. If you act with desperation or hysteria in order to fix it, you actually damage your reputation more than the original loss did. Trust that the effort that you put into the final product has created its own gravity. What is truly yours will return in due course. Don't anxiously try to fix everything immediately. Trust that it will work itself out. This is a warning against overcorrecting. If you lack the means to protect your privacy or image right now, wait. Trying to force a fix when you are ill-equipped makes you appear egotistical or arrogant. The seventh day here is a metaphor or symbol of a completed cycle. Let the cycle turn. The missing piece will find its way back to the new order. In career, this is the post-launch bug or a minor PR hiccup. Instead of panic emailing everyone, stay steady. The substance of your work will eventually vindicate you. In relationships, it is giving space after a misunderstanding rather than chasing after an explanation. Success is knowing when a loss is temporary rather than terminal. This is the no panic strategy. It's the realization that small setbacks don't require big reactions. The I Ching says you have lost your privacy veil, a minor protection or image detail after a major success. Don't run after it. Chasing small things makes you look desperate. Stay calm and trust that it will return on the seventh day, or eventually. Don't try to force fix for minor imperfections. If you lack the resources to secure yourself right now, just wait. Gravity and time will sort things out. Your dignity is more valuable than your curtain. A changing line 3. Like the great ancestor King Wu, who initiated a campaign against the devil's country, one must embody their highest self to fight off idleness or correct mistakes. After a long-term commitment to the matter, one conquers the adversity. Inferior ones should not be employed on these matters, or they will be conquered themselves and the work lost. This line is talking about a total purge. Line 3 is the peak of the inner trigram of fire. In the I Ching, the devil's country is a metaphor that represents those deeply rooted, persistent threats, either external enemies or internal loose ends, that linger even after a major victory. This is the strategy of the arduous cleanup. It teaches that order is only final once the last trace of disorder has been punished and removed. Maintaining disciplined effort will be a long and arduous one, but one that is well worth the investment. The Oracle says victory is not a quick fix in this scenario. You're dealing with a persistent threat that requires a long-term commitment. Now is the time to punish the remnants of your old life or old project. If you're idly celebrating your success while the devil's state still breathes down your neck, your empire will eventually fall to the very things that you thought that you conquered. Inferior people or inferior habits must not be allowed to manage these follow-up tasks. This is a warning against strategic fatigue. You are exhausted from the war, and the temptation is to hire the unqualified or settle for inferior standards just to be done with it. The Oracle suggests remain elite. If you delegate the maintenance of your new territory to lesser minds, you will lose everything that you fought for. In career, this is the expansion phase after a merger. Do not let old lazy habitats from the previous regime manage the new growth. In relationships, it is the deep cleaning of old resentments after the reconciliation. Success is secured by refusing to let mediocrity touch the masterpiece. This is the elite occupation strategy. It's the realization that winning is easy, but staying one is harder. The I Ching says, embody your highest self to fight off idleness. You are disciplining the devil's country, the persistent problems that still linger in the endeavor. This will be a long and arduous commitment. Do not trust the unqualified or inferior habits to manage this upkeep. Be incredibly selective about your standards. If you let mediocrity in now, your work will be lost. Purge the disorder with resolute effort. Only high-level commitment can ensure the success endures. A changing line 4. One successful endeavor becomes like clothing that tatters slowly. One of authority must be completely vigilant about the matter. This brings good fortune. This line is talking about being perpetually aware. Line 4 is the transition into the outer trigram of water. In the I Ching, fine clothes, which is representative of your outward status of completion, are beginning to tatter from within. This isn't a calamity yet, but it is a slow decay. This is the strategy of constant maintenance. It teaches that the superior person does not wait for a flood to check the levee. They check it while it's dry. Flaws and signs of decay are appearing. This awareness and vigilance are good. The Oracle says, the first tatter is a gift. By being intuitive to the smallest emerging problems, you prevent them from becoming major catastrophes. Most people ignore the rags because they want to believe they are still perfect. You must be completely vigilant all day to admit that the completion is already degrading. Being at the ready helps maintain the hard-fought completion. This is a warning against status quo bias. You cannot coast on your fine clothes. You must focus on efforts of prevention. In the I Ching, this line suggests having wads of rags ready to plug a leak in the boat. You don't wait for the water to enter. You have the plug in your hand before the crack appears. In career, this is the code review or the financial audit that finds the minor error before it becomes a total system failure. In relationships, it is addressing the small annoyance before it turns into a major resentment. Good fortune is the result of catching the tatter before it becomes a tear. This line is recommending a prevention strategy. It's the realization that success is a biodegradable asset. The I Ching says your successful endeavor is like clothing that tatters slowly. Do not ignore the flaws. You must be completely vigilant all day long. Being intuitive to these small signs of decay brings good fortune. All things degrade over time. The secret to success is constant upkeep. Be at the ready to fix the minor problems before they become major disasters. Excellence is the habit of continuous mending. A changing line 5. The neighbor with their expensive, bombastic, and flashy offering of a slaughtered ox does not attain as much real happiness as the other neighbor's simple, humble, and truly sincere offering. This is true good fortune. This line is talking about authentic value. Line 5 is the leader of the outer trigram of water. In the I Ching, the east represents flashiness and outward displays, while the west represents an inward spiritual and humble demeanor. After a major success, there is a temptation to become bombastic or to buy your way to continued favor. This is the strategy of the heart-centered pivot. It teaches that real happiness and good fortune are found in the quality of intent and not in the quantity of display. The advice here is to reject hollow formalities. One shouldn't be swayed by grand, elaborate gestures that give off prideful displays. The oracle says the ox is an ego trip. If your maintenance of success involves hype, overpriced course corrections, or flashy PR, you are sullying the honest work that you've already done. A simple, humble, and truly sincere approach is more valuable and sustains prosperity. The divine and the market, or your partner, cares about your substance, not the packaging on the outside. Don't be swayed by the appearance of success, and focus instead on the values that got you there. This is a warning against performative competence. You might feel pressured to scale up or look the part in a way that feels hollow. The oracle suggests value substance. A small, honest adjustment keeps you aligned with truth. If you lose your heart to your hype, the completion will begin to rot from the inside out. In career, this is opting for quality customer service over a multi-million-dollar ad campaign. In relationships, it is a sincere conversation rather than a guilt-driven, expensive gift. True good fortune is the result of being real rather than being big. This is the substance strategy. It's the realization that authenticity is efficiency. The I Ching says, don't be swayed by bombastic, flashy displays. The humble and truly sincere offering is worth more than the slaughtered ox. Focus on heart and content. In this era of good fortune, value substance over superficiality. A small, honest adjustment is better than an overpriced, hyped correction. Stay true to the values that got you to the summit. Divine success looks for sincerity, not size. A changing line 6. One oversteps and falls, getting their head in the water. This is an extreme danger, misfortune. Line 6 is the absolute peak of the outer water trigram. In line 1, the fox was cautious and only got his tail wet in the water. Here, at the end of the hexagram, the fox has become drunk on success. By looking back at the distance traveled or indulging in the feeling of completion, it loses its footing entirely. This is the strategy of the forward gaze. It teaches that the danger of success is not that it ends, but that it blinds. Do not get drunk on success to the point where you ignore the blind spots and lose touch with reality. The oracle says your trophy is becoming an anchor. If you believe the struggle for balance is over, you have already lost it. The powerful forces you unleashed to reach the summit are now out of sync because you stopped managing them to celebrate them. Misfortune is the natural result of stopping while you're still inside of the current. Do not stop your progress to look back on the road that you've already traveled, or you risk losing your focus. This is a warning against retrospective arrogance. Looking back at the summit while you're still crossing the great water causes ensuing intoxication. The head in the water here represents a total submergence in the very problems that you thought that you had conquered. If you overshoot your own capacity for vigilance, the calamity is total. In career, this is the founder who stops innovating because they're too busy accepting awards. The market will eventually drown them and their success. In relationships, it is coasting on the wedding vows while ignoring the daily connection. Success is only safe as long as you refuse to be satisfied by it. This is the sobriety strategy. It's the realization that pride is weight. The I Ching says you have overstepped and are in extreme danger of misfortune. Do not get drunk on success. If you believe that the struggle for balance is over, you will be overwhelmed. Do not look back at how far you've come. Keep going forward. If you become self-indulgent, your head will go into the water. Regain your awareness before your achievement drags you into the depths of failure. Vigilance has to be eternal. That concludes Hexagram 63. I hope that you liked the video if you found it helpful in understanding this hexagram. Subscribe to follow along, and next we will look at the final hexagram in the I Ching. Before completion, number 64. See you soon.